the recording. Welcome everyone to today's Housing Strategies Peer Exchange, this monthly series for local government planners and housers who are working on innovative strategies across the state of Colorado. Today's featured topic is regional collaboration on housing and Proposition 123. And we have a couple of featured guest speakers, Bill Cole and MJ Adams from the town of Erie, talking about the Boulder County Housing Partnership. And from the Southeast Colorado Regional Housing Alliance, we have Stephanie Gonzalez and Michael Yerman. But before we get to that, we like to start off the series with a few brief announcements, and we have lots of exciting announcements for you today. We'll paste the details into the chat, and don't worry, after the series, we'll be sending a follow-up email that will include the slides, the recording, and all these announcements with the links. First up, a couple of Prop 123 funding announcements. The Equity Program is one of several Prop 123 funding programs provided by OEDIT and CHAFA. There's a webinar tomorrow at 11 o'clock to learn more about the Equity Program application funding cycle for low and middle income rental housing. There is also funding available from the Division of Local Government for the Local Planning Capacity Grant. The application opened last week. The deadline is March 14th. Please reach out to me by March 5th if you're interested in applying and schedule your pre-application meeting. Also in Prop 123 news, DOLA is getting ready to publish the local government commitment unit counting methodology. So how will local governments count units that are affordable? At the end of 2026, there will be two webinars published. Two webinars happening on March 4th and March 11th. So same content both days. Register for whichever date works better for you. Also, there is a new housing planning grant program, a little more on that in a minute. And then I wanted to share, there's also a webinar coming up about housing planning, more on that in a minute. But speaking of regional collaboration, the Rocky Mountain Land Use Institute has an upcoming conference in early March, and an all-day workshop on Wednesday, March 5th is all about regionalism. So given today's topic, I wanted to highlight that. It's a great conference, 3 days, lots of other great sessions. So check it out. All the details are at that link. Very briefly, there's a funding program through the Colorado Energy Office, a grant opportunity for local governments adopting or implementing upgraded energy codes. That was our topic last month. This grant program is open through February 28th. And it's an ongoing funding program, so there may be future cycles to help you with energy code adoption. I also wanted to highlight a couple of new professional development opportunities in affordable housing. University of Denver has an executive certificate in affordable housing with next year's program dates and registration coming up. Apply by March 30th for a discount. And then MSU Denver is also launching a new Affordable Housing Institute, similar but different program with 4-week sessions. You can register for each independently. Details were shared in the link. And then DOLA recently announced a childcare facility development toolkit. We encourage childcare to go hand in hand with affordable housing. We need more of both in Colorado. And there's this great opportunity, again, with a webinar coming up on March 5th that you may want to check out. That was a lot. Don't worry, it's all going to be in the email that we'll send out after this topic. So let me just introduce this topic briefly before I hand it over to our guest speakers. there's been lots of great regional collaboration happening across Colorado. Prop 123 creates new opportunities to collaborate, and we've seen some new regional collaboration spurred by this. It's right there in the law that it is encouraged and says that local governments or tribal governments may enter into written agreements to share credit on housing developments that get built in your area. And there are other ways to collaborate on housing strategies at a regional level, which we'll hear more about today. And then I also wanted to note that Senate Bill 24-174 that the legislature passed last year also creates new opportunities for regional collaboration, where local governments are required to create a housing needs assessment and housing action plans, but this is a great opportunity to collaborate. I want to hand it over and introduce a couple colleagues very briefly. Mark Williams, who is our subject matter expert on this new bill, if you want to say hello and share your announcement.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Robin. She said, my name is Mark Williams. I've been with DOLA for about 2.5 months now. We're going to have a webinar on March the 12th to go through the requirements in Senate Bill 24174 as they relate to completing housing needs assessments. There's a lot in that bill, so this is just focused on the HNAs and particularly the regional focus that the bill emphasizes but doesn't require, along with how to get the needed data in there, which some of the pre-existing HNAs that have been done, we've seen some patterns on what tends to be missing. So we want to make that as easy as possible for everybody else who's going to be doing their HNAs in the near future.
Right, and Mitch Hendrick to tell us about grant funding for this.
Thanks, Robin. Yeah, really quickly, we'll be launching a new grant program that came out of Senate Bill 24-174 to fund housing needs assessments, housing action plans, and later potentially strategic growth elements of comprehensive plans. But our first round will be open in March, early March, and closing in April. So please check the link in the chat. There's a 1-minute survey, really 2 brief questions about your interest or potential interest in the program, and an email address for Ashley Basham, the program manager, you can contact with any questions that we can help resolve anything that you're unsure about. So please reach out if you have any questions about the program, and we're looking forward to getting started. Thanks.
All right, I just wanted to share this map. This is not a comprehensive list of regional collaboration, but it highlights some nice examples. Of course, we'll hear about Boulder and Southeast Colorado today, but just wanted to highlight some other nice examples. We've got the folks in Eagle County and the municipalities there working on regional housing needs assessments and housing action planning currently underway. Up in the northeast corner, we've got Morgan County Housing Action Team doing some great regional collaboration. These are both current grantees of the local planning capacity program, so they're using Prop 123 planning dollars to work on regional efforts. Another nice example in the Southwest is La Plata County and the municipalities there, Durango, Bayfield, Ignacio, collaborating on a regional housing authority and other strategies to get new housing. Similarly, Archuleta County and Pagosa Springs have jointly hired an affordable housing specialist to help them with their efforts and are also doing regional housing action housing needs assessment, action planning. And Douglas County is a really interesting example where they've formally done an IGA, intergovernmental agreement, to collaborate on Prop 123 implementation efforts. So just, I know there are some more great examples out there. In the second half of today's session, we invite you to share your examples, your lessons learned. That's what today is all about, learning and sharing. So without further ado, I want to hand it over to our first presenter. I'll stop sharing my screen. Bill Cole from Boulder County, and take it away.
Thanks, Robin. Thanks for providing this opportunity to share with you all. My name is Bill Cole. I'm with the Boulder County Housing Department, and I'm the Housing Partnership and Policy Manager. Been here for about 2 years, and I lead the Regional Housing Partnership. I'll get into that. Oh, okay, maybe. The Boulder County Regional Housing Partnership is really a collaboration across the county, both the county and the municipalities within the county. And it's really about connecting staff across municipalities and providing their expertise. We have a lot of smaller jurisdictions that don't have a housing staff, and so having the larger jurisdictions in the county assist them really goes a long way to getting housing into those communities. A lot of the smaller communities just have planners on the partnership or in their town, and they don't have the housing expertise. And so we really work across the municipalities to share that. We do have an IGA that's been in place since 2016 between the county and the municipalities that kind of lay everything out. Like I said, we've been doing staff collaboration across the county since 2016. We support and advocate for the development and preservation of affordable housing across those jurisdictions. And like I said, we really leverage the expertise within the county. And just an example, we took some of our ARPA funding and have an IGA. The county has an IGA with the city of Boulder to expand their rental and home ownership compliance program. They've had one in place for years. They have staff very knowledgeable. And instead of other municipalities coming along and creating their own compliance program, we're expanding the city of Boulder one so that like town of Erie, city of Lafayette, town of Superior can all tap into the expertise that's already in place through that. And then we develop policies and model ordinances to be implemented across the county. One thing we did this last year, well, not this last year, in 2023, we got a local housing tax on the ballot, and it passed. And the Regional Housing Partnership was very critical in getting that support and getting people out to vote to get that housing tax passed. Back in 2018, the Regional Housing Partnership set a countywide goal to have 12% deed restricted affordable units by 2035, which is about 18,000 units. And we're about a third, we're reaching a halfway point. The county is currently at 5.56% with about 8,300 units, and we have about 9,700 units to go. It's going to be hard row. We're going to get there, but there's a lot of work to be done. We have 2 committees. One is the Executive Steering Committee that's chaired by the Boulder County, but includes most of the municipalities across the county. And then we have a larger advisory committee that includes the steering committee, but it includes all the nonprofits and other jurisdictions and other staff that work on affordable housing in the county. Specific to the collaboration we've done on Proposition 123, we worked together and assisted smaller municipalities in setting and submitting the baseline numbers. We had a lot of conversations back in 2023 between the communities, between the jurisdictions, talking about how they were doing that, what method they were doing, how they're going to set their baseline. And that really helped the smaller jurisdictions get those letters of commitment in. We are tracking all letters of interest and application and awards at the county level. We have a spreadsheet that keeps track of all that. And then we did apply and receive a local planning capacity grant, really to look at the fast track and look at our zoning, our land use and development codes, and the processes. We're really working together across the county to get those processes as similar as we can across the county for fast track approval of affordable housing projects, so that when a developer comes in and wants to build something in Boulder County, they know what to expect. They know that one municipality is going to be very similar to the other, and that way we don't have jurisdictions competing with each other to land affordable housing projects because one jurisdiction does something different than the other or has better incentives. So we're really trying to work so that we're all on the same page and be as similar as possible with the fast track processes. To get there, we set up an advisory committee of planners across the jurisdictions to create the RFP and then to review the submissions that we get. There's my contact information, and I want to hand it over to MJ. MJ is one of our RHP members. She works in the town of Erie, and she's doing a great job there. And she's going to talk a little bit about RHP and do a little demonstration as well of our dashboard.
Great, thank you, Bill. Yeah, when I arrived here from out of state just about 2 years ago, and one of the things that really drew me to working out here in Colorado and in Boulder County, and specifically for the town of Erie, was this research that I'd done prior to coming out here, and saw that, number one, Colorado as a whole, as a state, was stepping into some interesting space in terms of wanting to do affordable housing. But the second piece was this level of regional collaboration among the cities and towns in Boulder County. And the fact that they had already committed to and very publicly spoke about this goal of 12% of the housing stock to be affordable by 2035. Because one of my experience has been in my career is that housing markets do not limit themselves to the border of towns, that they are really regional housing markets. And if we're not paying attention to how we sit in the region, then our work becomes much harder. The second piece of that was just the amazing capacity and knowledge about affordable housing and how to implement efforts to increase it that was already here in Boulder County. We've got, we're lucky enough to have the city of Boulder and Longmont, which have a very long tenure of very actively engaging in creating affordable housing. And that understanding of how it works and what the challenges and barriers are to it was incredibly valuable for me when I first landed here, and continues to be very valuable, I think, for us as a region, because we've got people who have been working at it for so many years. They understand where the tripwires are. And it's been incredibly helpful to have a community of practice up here in Boulder County that is really quite wonderful in terms of supporting our regional efforts. And this was true when when I was first here. One of the first things that we needed to do was to make a decision about Proposition 123 and whether or not the town of Erie would sign on to the commitment. And I'll share with you that I would have been in the wilderness trying to figure out what kind of recommendation to make to the town leadership in Erie, had it not been for this regional conversation that was already happening among the regional housing partnership staff. So it was incredibly valuable. And as we were working on, our Proposition 123 commitment, it was, I think, extraordinary that we had public officials who, when they were talking publicly about affordable housing, would publicly state that the region had this goal for 12%. And then they'd turn to us and say, well, how are we doing on it? Which is one of the reasons that we decided that we needed some sort of data dashboard. Clearly some of the towns have their own little, their own records that they keep and make those public, but how are we doing as a region? So we started to tackle the idea of a regional housing partnership dashboard. And that's what I get to share with you today, is because it's been a little bit of a long haul, but we've got the first iteration of it. It's a work in progress. I keep reminding people that. And but it feels like a really good place to start. And if I'm doing this right, this should pop up and be shared. Can somebody tell me if that's working? Yay, thank you. So clearly the 12% goal is clearly stated. And like I said, this is a work in progress. We're actually going to be putting it up on the Town of Erie website and hosting it until the Regional Housing Partnership does their website update, which is also a great collaborative effort. But the goal was to figure out how we're doing 12% regionally. And people who have heard me present as part of the Regional Housing Partnership work that we do will always hear me say, and I'll repeat it again today, is that which gets measured gets done. If we have this 12% goal and we really don't know what it means, how can we sort of hang our hat on it and know that we're making good progress towards it. So the goal was to figure out, what have we got? What have we got for the region? And then how do each member of the Regional Housing Partnership play their role in contributing towards that regional goal? So you can see, and I think Bill mentioned this number before, that as a region, you take a look at all the housing units right now, about 5.56% of them are deed restricted affordable. And the way we did it is we got the numbers from each of the jurisdictions, added them up together, and got to this number. We're hoping to update it every year. But the great thing about this tool is that in addition to looking at the region, you can take a look at how each community is doing. City of Boulder, 8.32%. Louisville, 4.22%. Longmont. So you can see a number of communities that are already making really substantial progress towards that 12% goal. I will share that Erie has its works cut out for it. But you know, we do have some little amount looking to do more. But the other important thing that jumps out at me from this is, number one, even small communities can make a really big dent. And I really want to point out Lyons and Nederland, two of our smaller communities in the Regional Housing Partnership, but pretty substantial up there in terms of their data on deed restricted affordable housing. I also want to say that 12% is the regional goal, and I want to call out that the City of Boulder actually has a 15% goal. But this is the Regional Housing Partnership's dashboard, and it helps us understand how we're doing as a region. Then when you're looking at each community, you can actually see the actual specific details in terms of their housing units, and those are measured as of the end of 2023. What our 12% goal, meaning if 12% of those were affordable, how many would we have? How many do we really have right now? What's our percentage? What's our deficit, meaning that to get ourselves whole right now to the 12%, how many more would we need to create? You see units in process, and phase one was sort of collecting the data of existing conditions. Phase two, which we're starting to develop, is what do we actually have in the pipeline? We've got a preliminary spreadsheet of community by community, the units, affordable housing units that are in construction but don't have a building permit or don't have a certificate of occupancy yet. The number of units that are entitled but are not yet into construction. And then also what's on the horizon. And we're going to be adding that in. We've got a placeholder here, so we'll be able to do that. The other numbers you'll see here are two that we pull from the state resources. Number one, Proposition 123. What was our number? What was the number of affordable housing that that we came up when we were making our Proposition 123 commitment? I want to point out that that does not match the deed restricted units, because the Proposition 123 baseline numbers also includes naturally occurring affordable housing. And as we move forward, we know that's a very important piece of the picture. And how do we get our arms around it and make sure that we're finding a way to measure that? And then the last thing came out of the DRCOG Regional Housing Needs Assessment, community by community. They list the number of affordable units needed by the year 2032. So this is it in a flash. Like I said, it'll be up on our website, community by community. But like I said, I think what gets measured gets done. And so this is our first stab at it. There.
It's so exciting to see your new dashboard. Thank you.
And it will be published soon. Hopefully in the next week, we'll have it up, and we'll be happy to share the link with folks so they can take a look at it.
Right.
So what I want to just wrap up and say about the Regional Housing Partnership is the Regional Collaborative has been instrumental in not only the town of Erie's ability to be able to move forward and get stuff done, but the region as a whole. We really operate as a community of practice. And I think, and I hope that the work that we're doing will really engage the affordable housing development community so that we're all singing off the same sheet, pushing in the same direction. And as Bill mentioned, we have the new affordable housing tax that's available in Boulder County, and that this will help us inform how to allocate those resources.
All right, and I do see some questions coming in the chat. We're going to do Q&A after our next presenter, but I will invite our co-hosts to respond to questions in the chat and encourage participants to put them in the chat, which will facilitate our discussion, our group discussion that follows our next presenters. So introducing our Southeast Colorado team. Michael, Stephanie, which of you is going first? Take it away.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm pleased to be here to give you a take on what Southeast Colorado does to be collaborative on many fronts. Michael will help to end our presentation by talking about our Regional Housing Authority. But I'm going to give you a high-level overview of what SECED, and as you see the slide there, I'm the director of the Regional Economic and Community Development Organization serving Southeast Colorado. Like many organizations, SECED wears many hats, and I'll give you, like I said, this high-level overview of the programs that we run. As with every organization, we seem to have a knack for alphabet soup. So with all the acronyms you'll see on the slide, we have SECED and CCOG that I missed putting on those slides. All right, next slide. We serve 6 counties and 25 municipalities. And I want to stress how collaborative our region is and how blessed I am that each of them is very like-minded, that they know the benefits that come from one and for all. You know, if it benefits one, it benefits all. We serve the counties of Baca, Bent, Crowley, Kiowa, Otero, and Prowers, and we have 25 municipalities within those 6 counties. We have a large coverage area, which spans approximately 9,521 square miles. In a day's drive, that is quite a long day, which Michael knows. He's been in our area quite a bit. We have a range of community sizes, with our largest being Lamar at approximately 7,500 to the smallest being Two Buttes at 32 people. Our largest county is Otero with 18,115 residents. So we're truly rural. Our median home prices are $215,000, and we're definitely in the lower range when you look at AMIs. So our region at 100% AMI is at $66,000 for one person, and a family of 4 at $94,200. Next slide. SECED is the 501c3 nonprofit whose goal is to offer incentives, develop promotional opportunities. We market and advertise the advantages of locating a business in Southeast Colorado, and we operate the multiple programs promoting the area, creating a positive identity, and encouraging retention expansion of our existing businesses. We're also involved in redevelopment, and now have really delved into the community development side through our housing development activities. The Council of Governments, we work closely with our state partners to do a regional mini grant program, housing needs assessment that's coming up. Last one we did was in 2017. So with all of the housing activities that we've done, we're very much in need of a new housing needs assessment to identify what's next in our phases of development. We've also done an opportunity zone prospectus. We participated in the IHOP strategies planning, and we're now going to be involved collaboratively with our neighboring COGs, Eastern Plains and South Central, to do a renewable energy impact study. Next slide. We are also the enterprise zone administrators. We're under the umbrella of South Central. However, the Southeast includes our 6 counties, and that's who we service. And next slide, our TPR, the Transportation Planning Region, is important to us because, as we all know, making connections, having that available transportation, good roads also goes hand in hand with having, a good community that's livable. So sharing that across the region, we created a regional transit service that goes along Highway 50. And we are working on expanding routes on 287 to connect some of our other counties. We've been instrumental in updating our regional transportation plan. And as many people know, the long range planning is going on right now. So we're in our 2050 planning, which I'm super glad that our communities and counties are very collaborative in doing this to identify the needs. Of course, we have our business loan fund program. We serve 5 counties for that. Otero County has a standalone business loan fund program, but they still work with us collaboratively to help them fill gaps when necessary. So overall, I would say, oh, and finally, our housing rehab program, which the single family owner occupied program has been in place since 1993. And we've been able to help address housing needs for homeowners across the region for quite a long time. So it only makes sense that we have moved into another realm with the creation of our program for the Regional Housing Authority. And with that, because our consultant has been Michael Yerman through this process, we have been able to do quite a bit of work in creating the next program that will help us to move housing development forward. So I'm going to turn it over to Michael to give you our spiel on what we've done with housing development and how we've done it collaboratively.
Thanks, Stephanie. So as Stephanie pointed out, I walked into, in 2022, a very collaborative environment in the Southeastern Plains. Quite honestly, it was the first time in my career that I've seen such regional collaboration. And in 2022, the #1 priority for SCCED was building housing. A lot of the economic development programs, the workforce development, were just lacking housing options, especially new housing across the region. And so in 2022, we did a feasibility study, and we one of the biggest issues we were dealing with was an appraisal of $100 a square foot across all 6 counties. And to put that in perspective, that basically prohibited anybody to build a home at a reasonable price unless they came forward with almost 100% of the cash to build that house. So we started off with a goal of building 43 in our feasibility study, or sorry, 40 in our feasibility study. And we actually wound up with 83 homes going into phase 1. What's really important about this is this is how we are now positioned to have funding for the Regional Housing Authority. The first phase was 83 homes, 64 were Opportunity Zone investment rental units in Olney Springs, Los Animas, Grenada, and Springfield. And then we were also able to piggyback on getting 18 single-family homes across the region built for individual buyers using economies of scale. We were able to actually achieve $175 a square foot. That project was completed across 225 miles in 18 months. Again, the region working together, getting their entitlements, and having everything ready to go. The second phase, so here's some of the rentals that were purchased by the Opportunity Zone investor. Here's the single family home option. This was our flagship model. We were able to sell that for $199 across the region. The second phase was a huge opportunity, and I think was part of the state's recognition of the regional collaboration that was occurring. The project in Ordway is 28 units. It's all owned by SCCED. And we were able to get a transformational affordable housing grant. The total project is $8.3 million. We were able to receive $6.3 from the state. Really, this project is, because it's owned by SCCED, is able to provide funding long-term to the Regional Housing Authority as kind of, to cover the admin costs as we proceed. And actually, we just hired TL Hemphill, who is online today, as our new regional housing director, which is great. Stephanie and I both can agree no more than we needed somebody 24/7 to be taking on this program. So that this housing project, as well as the revenue generated, created a 1.4 million seed fund for their now created regional housing authority. We utilized the state statute to do a multi-jurisdictional regional housing authority. We can either try to post in the chat a PDF, or Robin will send out the actual IGA as part of the slide deck, so that folks can see the actual legal document that created this. And the important thing is that it was an easy step for us to take, in that the 1.4 million that was created from phase 1 and phase 2 were small development fees that I think was a 2% or 2.5% that we charged to get money back into the coffers. The other big thing was that each of the counties purchased a home, which is also seed funding for the regional housing authority. But the goal was to create a self-sustaining organization without any additional contributions moving forward from our county governments. There's actually 2 pots of funds. There's an admin pot, which pays for the administration, the regional housing director's position, things like architecture, surveying, the housing needs assessment that we're about to conduct, matching funds for grants would be regional, like a regional housing needs assessment. And then there's a development pot. Each county actually has their own development fund, where each of those funds, where the pots of funds have to be spent. So for instance, Prowers County has the largest. They have about an $800,000 pot, and then most of the other counties have about a $200,000 pot. What's amazing about that, though, is it's going to allow us to do self-financing on our construction projects moving forward. Obviously, also able to use those funds to leverage additional grant funding, Prop 123 funding to get homes built. One really important thing was that, and this is kind of a guiding principle, was that we created it at the county level. So the membership is actually the county governments. And we did that very purposefully because there was a lot of concern around local municipalities around their quasi-judicial processes of land use approvals. And so we did it at a county level because the county commissioners recognize that the projects need to be in municipalities where they're next to services. So this eliminates basically a mayor funding a project in their own town and then having to sit on a zoning approval later on. So it's great that the municipalities bring forward projects. The Regional Housing Authority, through the board of directors, approves funding for those projects. And it really keeps things neat and tidy as long, through entitlement processes, which was a big concern. But because it was created at a regional county level, all municipalities are included. So municipalities can come and be part of it, and in fact are encouraged to bring projects forward. It's a 13-member board, so 2 members from each county, and then Stephanie, as the executive director, sits as the 13th seat. And another really important thing that came about in all of our discussions is our regional housing authority does not have taxation or condemnation powers. And that's really important in the fact that it limits our exposure to Tabor. So we have no Tabor powers. And that, in fact, actually allowed us to access bond financing. For instance, in the Ordway project for our perm financing, we were able to get a significantly lower rate on our perm financing because we do not have Tabor powers in our regional housing authority. So it was agreed upon at the very beginning, no tax for affordable housing will ever be put on a ballot through the regional housing authority, nor will we ever condemn property or have a condemnation power. A couple other really important things as we proceed. The regional housing authority is a resource for local communities to come and do code rewrites. La Junta, Ordway, Springfield, all have participated. A lot of the local towns, also in smaller towns that don't have zoning, came in and helped do an expedited review resolution, committing to Prop 123 and ensuring those projects move forward. the Regional Housing Authority serves as the land bank, which is huge because that allows us to put property, work with local private owners and especially blighted homes, get those into a local government, quasi-governmental control. And then that opens us up for funding like brownfield remediation funding, et cetera, for a lot of the blighted home issues we deal with. At the Regional Housing Authority, one of the biggest things we deal with is infrastructure development for housing projects. So water, sewer, gas, electric, extensions, roads, to put in housing projects. We have the development funds to assist with those types of things. We're actually working, we actually met with the Copper program yesterday and Phil Weiser, the Attorney General, to talk about our next phase, which we're really excited about, partnership with the OJC, Otero Junior College and Lamar Community College program to utilize the Copper program, which is a workforce training program, to start doing that. And then the other big task that's ahead of us, and it was so great to see MJ's presentation on how they're tracking your Prop 123 commitment, because we have 31 communities to track for ourselves. So it was, MJ, thank you so much for sharing that, because we've been wrestling with how we're going to go about that. So I'm already thinking of ideas of how Teal and I can start to work towards something. I don't know if it could be as fancy as that, but we'll try. And again, the last and most important thing was that we did hire a full-time director. And I think that was a really big regional priority when we started all that. And so many thanks to the Prop 123 funding and allowing us to get that off the ground.
Fabulous. Thank you all so much. I've so many exciting things to share. And at this point, we want to open it up for the rest of our time together so that everyone can ask questions of our presenters, or please share any regional experience or lessons learned that you've had in different parts of Colorado. And so please raise your hand if you'd like to speak and share. If you'd like to put something in the chat, go right ahead. Mitch, do we have a couple of questions in the chat that we should go ahead and answer?
Let me take a look. There's a few in there. The first question was for MJ. Specifically, the Boulder County jurisdictions, how are they capturing naturally occurring affordable housing?
That's a great question, and we don't have an answer to that yet. We do know that with the baseline Prop 123 numbers, that number does include naturally occurring affordable housing. And we've actually started talking with CHAPA, who seems to be also trying to collect some data about naturally occurring affordable housing. So we've actually been in conversations with the CHAPA staff to try to get a better sense of that. We might know that a little informally. But to better understand the methodology that you guys, the state, used when helping us do our initial baseline, we'll move from there. But
I'll just note that DOLA's guidance on Prop 123 unit counting is trying to address that. So stay tuned. That'll be published soon and will be discussed in the upcoming webinars on March 4th and 11th. So again, we're still figuring that out too.
And the thing we have to worry about with naturally occurring is because it's not deed restricted, it's not as sure for the long run as the deed restricted properties. So.
Great, thanks. The next question was about the DRCOG numbers. And the question specifically is the DRCOG number just affordable need or overall need? And if it is affordable, which AMI levels?
I believe it's just the affordables. And I believe, Eric, can you hop on and answer that? Eric,
yeah,
I wanted to introduce Eric. He was actually the technical guy that worked to pull this all together. So go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, it is the affordables, and it's up to 120 because we one of the issues that we've been running into with the dashboard is different local definitions of affordability. So we went up to 120 to capture all of those because that's one of the AMI levels that the town of Erie defines as affordable.
And I'm going to jump in. Eric, what was the software used for the dashboard?
It's a Microsoft Power BI.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thanks.
Great, thanks. The last one wasn't really a question from Brad asking about when the dashboard is live. A note would be appreciated so everyone could take a look. So maybe we could just follow up with Robin and I, and we can help circulate that if need be.
Absolutely. Very soon.
Great.
I
Thanks.
would say if you're registered for the series, we can announce it at one of our future series, and then it will also get shared out over email as well. What else do we have in the chat? A note about Ouray County and the municipalities therein. Jake, would you like to share any more?
No, I think everything I wanted to say is there in that comment, just that there's another regional collaboration here in the Southwest.
Speaking of the Southwest, if anyone's here from Cortez, I know you worked on a dashboard as well with Montezuma County, I believe. I don't know if anyone wants to share anything there. But if your communities are considering dashboards, that's another model to look at. Any other folks from across the state, would you like to share more about your regional collaborations or lessons learned in that process? Anyone from Douglas County, Clear Creek? We even have a few more rural collaborations in the mountains and over on the western slope.
And while we wait for folks to chime in, I'll just throw out there that if anyone has any questions about relating regional collaboration to Senate Bill 24-174, I can answer some of your questions now. And as we finalize our guidelines over the next couple of days, we'll have some more concrete answers. So if anyone has questions about that program that will fund needs assessments, action plans, please reach out or throw something in the chat.
Hello, it's Maria Chano from Douglas County Housing Partnership. I'm the executive director, and I'm just, I don't have a lot to share. I'm really listening in. We're the housing authority for Douglas County, Town of Parker, Castle Rock, Lone Tree, and Castle Pines. And so we have, as you mentioned, entered into an IGA for sharing Proposition 123 credits. And we're really just at the beginning of our process, working on creating a pipeline and tracking systems, internal policies for how we're going to distribute credit. So I think that it's exciting to see other groups doing that, and I'm watching and want to learn and interested to see that Power BI dashboard. That's super cool. Thank you for sharing that. So really just thanks to everyone, and as we move forward, we'll be happy to share our learning lessons and any successes that we have.
We have Lauren, go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you so much for all of this, very informative. I'm out here on the Eastern Plains. I just had a question for other folks in rural. One of the things that I'm also on the city council here in Fort Morgan, but I find that getting alignment between county and municipalities, sometimes we're at odds, and how to bring folks together with these different visions so that we can maximize 123 funds. Anybody have any experiences where they could share with how to bring folks together on visions?
I'm happy to speak to that. MJ from Town of Erie, but part of the Boulder County Regional Housing Regional Housing Partnership. The Housing Partnership actually sponsored a housing summit. We did one in January 2024. We did one a couple of years ago prior to that when we first set up the regional goal. And I think that was a pretty marvelous way where community leaders, electeds came together. And not that there's peer pressure, but clearly the dashboard and the numbers, Boulder Regional Housing Partnership came to be because we had two extraordinary communities leading the effort, and they realized that they couldn't do it alone. And there was this regional sense that they shouldn't do it alone. And I think that sense sort of led to the partnership. So I think the convening of a summit with good data, examples that might work, and where you want to go with it, is incredibly valuable. So, and I really appreciate the leadership in Boulder County several years ago that really laid the groundwork for this to be as successful as it is.
And I'll just add too that Larimer County is coordinating a similar type of housing summit with their municipalities. And that, you know, it's great that we can connect virtually. It's also nice to have a day to be in person together and really learn from each other and you know, build that partnership. Clear Creek County did something similar. They had been all working remotely, and then they came together one day and said, hey, this is the first time we've all sat down in person to formally get this regional partnership going. We have a couple hands. Jake from URA, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, just wanted to respond to Lauren. We are definitely very much rural, and we do have a good collaboration between the county and our two municipalities. That hasn't always been the case, but one thing that has helped us is we have tri-agency dinners every 4 months where the electeds get together and are just able to chat and network in person. And that helps develop some relationships when there isn't the pressure of an agenda to get something done. And that really helps facilitate discussions when you do have an agenda and you can try and reconcile what might be opposing goals. Luckily, we're aligned in URA County that we want to focus affordable housing in the municipalities. And so all three of the agencies are together on that. But if you have different visions, once you have those relationships in place, it's a lot easier to come up with a solution. I don't know the specifics of what you're dealing with, but I'll offer that. Thanks.
Stephanie, go ahead.
Yeah, just to add to that, I'm the same way as Jake and MJ, you know, getting people together. We've had our Council of Governments, our agency, our commissioners and municipals meet 3 and 4 times a month in different meetings. And I think housing probably has been our biggest ability to bring people to work together, because we couldn't do housing in just one specific location. We had to spread it across a larger area to get the economies of scale. And, you know, that has really brought the collaboration even, it's just phenomenal here. It hasn't always been that way. You know, I'm pretty blessed to have that situation now. When I first started, I've been with the agency 26 years, so it has been a work in progress to get everybody on board. But, you know, once getting everybody to the table to say you are represented, and, you know, they meet, like I said, 3 and 4 times a month in different settings. So that collaboration really has fostered across all areas. So.
Great. And Lauren, in the chat, we've got Marjo sharing contact information from Chaffee County. So offering to connect. That's what this is all about. Hopefully opportunities for you to get to know each other and find out that another community is doing something useful. So when we send the follow-up email, we'll have the contact info for our presenters, but the team at DOLA can also help connect you with other communities. If you say, hey, do you know somebody doing this? Reach out and we'll try and do some introductions. Any other last thoughts before we wrap up? Actually, I just want to share our next topics for the next couple of months coming up. We have on March 20th, we'll be talking about water planning and affordable housing in the context of affordable housing. And then on April 17th, our topic will be modular and other innovative construction methods, such as panelized construction or 3D printed homes. featuring some local governments talking about their experience going through that, and some new legislation that would help make that easier, we think, hopefully, on local governments with the permitting and building inspections. So we just have a couple more minutes. We'll stay on till the top of the hour. If anyone else has last thoughts or questions. Otherwise, we can wrap up and let you all get on with your day. Thank you all for joining us. We can stop the recording and join us next month. Thanks, everyone.